Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am your host today, Laura Lalaki, international real estate agent, and today we're tackling a claim that's both controversial and complex, one that's generating a lot of heat on social media and in the news. So, what's today's topic? It's a claim from a Trump supporter suggesting that white votes are about preserving the white race. Now, this isn't just a political statement. It touches on racial identity, voting motivations, and for some, a deeper conversation about what America is and where it is headed. But before we get started, I want to introduce you to my awesome panel. I have beautiful kings and queens, handsome king rather, Joe Corley, licensed therapist, mental wellness coach, and educator. Marla Lathan, TV film producer. Athena Gardner, CPA and wealth coach. And Lindsay Vertner, international mindset coach and speaker. Hello, my family. I missed you last week. We're starting off on a new day. And this day is Monday, November the 11th. And it's a very special day. It is Veterans Day. And I want to take a minute so that we can say thank you to all of those who have served and who are currently serving our country. No matter where we stand on the political side, we know that you got the backbone of this country. So we honor you and we thank you so much. So happy Veterans Day. I want to start us off with something that is a little upsetting, but it's going to get this conversation started. So sit back and relax, and we'll kick off our conversation with this.
But I want to know how it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States. If you were to deport all illegal immigrants, if you were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims, all of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Because I want my people to survive. Is that so strange? We don't control China. We don't control any place where whites are not a majority. And if we become a minority, we will not control our own destiny anymore.
I grew up in this country as a minority, as the children of immigrants. I was their first child born in America. And while I didn't have much possession or didn't much control, I really enjoyed myself. And I think that if you ask a lot of Americans, they would say that I had a lot to offer this country. You know, according to you, I guess I would be perpetuating the dispossession of white America.
That is true. That is true.
Would you say that you wouldn't want me in this country?
At some point, when my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese or Haitians or to anyone else.
Do you consider, you keep saying your ancestors built this country, you consider that a fact?
Who else built it?
Black people, Native Americans, Chinese people who came and built the railroads.
Do you think none of that could have been
Italian
achieved?
people.
But they're Europeans, aren't they?
Okay.
Who else built it? I laughed so hard when that was said. I just couldn't even keep that inside.
No, and that today is the first that I saw of that because I have purposely been away from social media. I cannot even imagine looking at his face for the next 4 years. So I have been stepping back and taking care of my mental. And I want to hear what our viewers have to say, our viewer family. How did this video make you feel? I want to tap into that because I want our emotions to be heard here. Because look at our faces. We know that something isn't right here. And I want to hear your initial thoughts on this. And we're going to start with you, Marlo.
So first, shout out to Eddie Hong, who conducted the interview. That series is actually really good. It's a Vice series that he does and talks to all kind of people. So shout out to him for even sitting down with him, and also for being an Asian who understands race in America and being able to portray that in a different perspective that isn't always what we get. these people are clowns, right? If you look at the history of Europe before they started wandering away and invading other places, what they found were civilizations. You heard what he said. We don't control the Chinese. We don't control anywhere that we're not the dominant race. They never have, but they learned the fine art of invasion and mastered it. You look at history, history is all about their conquest. It's not about anything that they built, it's not about anything that they created. It is all about how they got in boats, how they walked the land. And, you know, some of them were White Walkers. We watched Game of Thrones, right? Some of them wandered away from the wilderness and they ended up in tropical places. But wherever they went, they caused destruction and they took. And that's what all he's saying is he wants to be able to preserve that culture of being able to take whatever it is that they want. Shout out to him for being honest too. I mean, a lot of them won't say it, but they'll live it.
But you know, also we've always grown up with like the TV mantra of the hoity-toity and and exactly he fell right into that stereotype. I don't think it's a stereotype. I think that's exactly what they are and how they act above everyone else. If you have not read the book called White Trash, I highly recommend that you do. And then you'll kind of see where some of this mentality came from. So, Joe, I would like to hear your initial thoughts on this and how that video made you feel.
I just smiled. You know what I mean? Because I'm okay with this. Like this is how I prefer it. You know what I mean? Like, don't insult my intelligence and tell me it's about policy or it's about your Christian values. Just tell me about what it is. If you are you trying to protect your whiteness and you got to support a vote for that, then how can I be mad at that? Honestly, I don't have to fool with you, but I mean I can respect that. You voted in your best interest. So I mean, I'm okay with what he said. It's not bothering me that much. It's funny actually.
Because
It's
he
not
told
based
you
in any
exactly
fact.
what he was thinking. It wasn't
Yeah,
behind the
yeah,
door. He just
and it's
said it.
not based in any fact, right? It's not based in any. I mean, I don't say any fact, but what he was talking about or trying to speak to as factual just wasn't factual. So it's like, okay, you're ignorant, but you're also honest. I can take that.
All right. Okay. I can respect that as well. Athena, what
Mhm.
was your thoughts on this video? How did it make you feel?
Well, I laughed when he said that, his people built this country because we all know that all the thing his people did was imported labor or stole labor from elsewhere to build this country. So that to me was a joke. But, he's expressing a sentiment that a lot of people from that group feel. The other thing I felt watching that interview is that as minorities, and I can relate, especially because the guy in the interview he's like a Asian immigrant. As a minority, I want us to stop begging the majority. Like, I just felt like we were in that interview, it was like trying, or I didn't watch the whole thing, but the underlying thing I saw from it was like trying to get them to understand or have compassion for or to do this and that. And I'm beyond that. I'm beyond trying to get the majority to be sympathetic or compassionate. Only thing that how we sound to them is that we're begging. And clearly everyone is interested in their own survival. So we need to be on that page. I fear that, and we'll get into this further on in the conversation, that Black people as a minority, we're going to be the minority very soon, if not already. And I fear that we're headed to a place of permanent underclass, like Dr. Claude Anderson has said over the years.
I can see it. I see a lot of things, but we also can change the trajectory. I don't see us as being hopeless because God knows we know how to pull ourselves up and make things happen. It's just how we do it and are we going to do it together? Lindsay, I'd love to hear your thoughts, please. How did you feel about this video?
I agree with everything that was already said. I personally didn't feel anything. I also laughed whenever he said the part about my ancestors built this. Now that was funny. I was like, do he got to stand up on Netflix? Because honey, what are you talking about? But yeah, at this point, I see everything for what it is. I understand what America was made on and who it was made for. And so he was only speaking the truth. Like Joe said, I would much rather you tell the truth instead of play fake to my face and then stab me as soon as I turn around. Just tell me up front so I can be on defense mode and keep you across the room.
Exactly. I think we all have had some things to say. We had some great comments as well that came in, but we're going to address those when we come back from this short break, because God knows I'm going to need a deep breath. We'll be right back.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Tierra Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I am the proud producer of this show. So I hope that every day when you join us, you leave a little smarter than you came, because that's the point. Otherwise, why are you watching? So if you want to receive notices for when we go live, Fly Nubian Money goes live every single day. That's Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you don't know, now you know. All you have to do is text the word Queens. That's Queens. That's Queens to 87948. That's 87948. That's Queens to 87948. Yes? If you want.
Yes, go ahead and do that right now. Stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin. I'm not going to go there. No, go ahead and text the word Queens, Queens to 87948. I have to make it a little bit lighter because it's pretty heavy. It's pretty hard to smile through this when you see that your country is burning. We knew that it was burning, but then the reality of the fire after the fact really does hit in a different way. But I want to pull up a graphic because I think this is really important before we move on into this conversation, to bounce back off what this guy is saying. According to Brookings Institution study, there is a segment of white voters who support Trump because they feel that American culture and demographics are changing rapidly, often attributing these changes to racial minorities. This sentiment is reflected in certain white nationalists and alt-right groups that have aligned themselves with Trump's rhetoric, focusing on preserving a certain vision of America, often tied to white identity. Okay, that's we've seen this. We've seen these things in such as 9/11. We've seen these things as the KKK being out and vocal and in full white brigade. So Marlo, when people say they want to preserve their race, what do you think they really mean?
I don't know, because like what they think they mean is that they are upholding this generations long world dominance, right? But the reality is what y'all are doing is catching up to what the rest of the world already was. The Chinese were already doing their thing. The African continent, Ghana and the Nubians, we don't even have to talk about Egypt, right? Other people on that continent were getting busy and building lands and creating temples and just doing things that are not available in Europe. There's big stones. I don't know who ever been all through Scotland and all of that. They were living in rocks for real. Like, I think that there's a narrative, right? Whoever gets to write it down gets to create what the narrative is. And so over years, we've been fed a narrative about European dominance that simply is not true. And they see all of the intermingling that their generations are doing, and they're having these babies, and they're starting to see less of themselves when they go places. They're starting to go places and not see themselves everywhere. It used to be everybody else were bit players and white people were the show. And now it just isn't so anymore. And they're kind of beside themselves trying to figure out how to preserve this thing that they created. Because remember, whiteness is created sometime in like the 1300s or something. I don't know. Go look it up, when they decided that they were going to create race, right? And they were going to divide people in this way. Before then, people cared about how they eat, where they live, what religion. That's how people were bonded before they created this concept. And now that it's kind of unraveling, Whatever, y'all. This is whoever believe in this shit is silly. Just elevate the tooth fairy. The tooth fairy is greater than this construct of white supremacy that y'all got popping.
I have to agree with that. I want to bounce to some of the comments that we had earlier before break. Wayne Johnson said the hypocrisy is white people convinced Black people to vote policy, not race. Yet it appears a vast majority of Trump supporters did vote race over policy. Jenny Jerome says the land, 100% of it, was stolen from the Native Americans. We all know that. You don't discover something that's already been discovered, Christopher Columbus. And then SGO6 says this election was about way more than Blacks getting their feelings hurt about how white people may or may not feel about the Black community. We better be more focused on not being erased in all ways. I think those comments were very prominent. Lindsay, what does it really mean to preserve a race in today's society? And is that even possible?
I agree with what Marlo said. What they think they mean is not actually what's happening. And for me, I feel like, why are they so worried about preserving their race? It's not like they're preserving a specific culture. You know how we pass down traditions from our family to the next generation and the next, and we want to preserve the culture. There isn't any culture that they're trying to preserve. So what exactly are you preserving? And it reminds me of the All Lives Matter. That whole thing going on, where all we were saying as Black people is we want to count too. Yet then here came white people and they were like, no, all lives matter, not just Black lives. And we were like, we never said your life didn't matter. We just want ours to matter as well as yours. And so this same perspective that he was saying, preserving the white race, and I don't want the disposition of the white race, reminds me of that same thing. It's like, we're not saying that you don't matter. We just want us to matter too. And why are you so scared for us to be equal? Like, are you worried that you're going to be treated how you've been treating us all these years? Because we're not thinking about you. We're not trying to erase you and to enslave you and beat you and do all the things that you did to us. We just want to live happy, and you can be happy over in your yard and we can be happy in our yard. So it's a mess.
It's always the things of being jealous of whatever the Joneses have. You don't want them to have more than you, especially when it comes to when you think you're better than they are in the first place. So Athena, I want to know what your thoughts are on what is the problem with the idea that one race needs to be dominant and stay dominant?
I think that we can point to someone mentioned in the comment section. I think his name is 2025 Pure Sangha, the ISIS papers, the keys to the colors. So Dr. Francis Cress Welsing did a lot of research and lectures on this, that from a psychological and emotional perspective of how race factors into behavior and thinking. And because of the evolution and the things that, Caucasians, Wahites have gone through, that they're psychologically wired to focus on their preservation and their survival because of the harsh conditioning, and also understanding that their genes are recessive. So should they mingle with anyone, they're basically gone, because Black genes and people of melanated people, our genes are more dominant. There's also a lot of scientific research on melanin. I know Dr. Lila Africa wrote a book on the power of melanin. There's even synthetic melanin that it's a whole rabbit hole we can go down for this audience. But what I think that he's expressing is the psychological thinking of, okay, we have this false domination that has been supported by a system of politics and force. And without that system, we will be reduced and we will also lose power. He mentioned that they do not dominate any area that they are not the majority of. So in order for their survival and to retain power structure, they have to dominate in those areas. Also, because of, and a lot of policy like abortion and all these other things are in place to reduce their to help their birth numbers get up, because they also have been shown to have a decrease in birth rate and all of that. So I do agree with what he's saying as why their reasoning behind their self-preservation and the things that are necessary. But I think all of us need to pick up the ISIS papers as reading for us to understand the reality of the situation.
I believe that is true too. I also do believe that if you have not taken the time to at least look at Project 2025, which you should have by now, you need to now pick it up and read it, just because you need to prepare yourself for the future. You need to know what they are doing and already implementing before he's even in office, so that you know how to protect your household, you and those who you love, and your communities. So it's really important to know what's coming. I don't believe that we need to fear. I need us to prepare. That is the down line. Stop fearing, prepare. I know some of us are still reeling, but prepare. So Joe, why is it so hard for some people to accept that the country was built by different races and cultures and not just one?
Well, when you say some people, which people do you mean? That's what I'm trying to figure. Who having a hard time accepting
The
that?
Wahites, as Athena has called them.
Because I mean, listen, how difficult would it be? Now I've been black 43 years. You know, I saw Roots in like the 6th grade when I saw that in school. I watched Roots and I said, oh, this is what we came from. Like and I started getting the understanding of my history as a black man, as a black person. So I can't imagine or even understand what it would be like to be completely ashamed of my entire history. And that's really what this election has magnified for me. It's not, I'm going to say show me, because I already knew, but the white folks are really embarrassed and ashamed of their entire history, and rather than face that and deal with it, or try to come back from it, we're just going to keep gaslighting folks into being afraid, gaslighting folks into thinking that if they don't accept what this outcome is, and still be friends with people who voted for this outcome, then somehow you're the villain. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have the maturity to like handle the fact that somebody has a differing opinion than you, and it's deeper than that. That's all gaslighting. So to get to your question, I mean, that's just the bottom line of it for me. Folks are ashamed of their history, right? So what do you do with that? I don't know. I can't relate to that. I'm not ashamed of mine. I know exactly where it came from.
And I embraced it and was taught to embrace it and know how to change it so that I know what the future looks like. We are really having a great conversation, but I'm going to have to take another deep breath. Oh, y'all need another deep breath? I need a deep breath. So we're going to take a short commercial break and we'll be right back.
You want to grow your money and not blow your money, as Constance says? Check us out at flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, programs, videos, resources. In 2024, there's no reason to be broke when there's information all around us. So get your money right. flynubianmoney.com.
Get your money right, because we're talking about being prepared and stop standing on fear. So in order to do that, you need to get educated. Go to our website, download the resources, find out where your weaknesses are so that we can help you strengthen them. And a lot of the times it's in finances, and that's what we deal with. So I want you to make sure that you do that today. If you've been putting it off and laughing at us when we say, hey, we just doing this, we make little things for you to remember, do it now. Athena, if people are worried about, I'm sorry, that wasn't the question for you. I got to get myself together. I just got this whole thing. You know what? I want to bring up some more stats because I think it's important, because we're seeing a whole lot of stats thrown around. Let's look at how the election stats came out a little bit. But first, let's look at the cultural and the demographic shifts. According to Brookings Institution study, there's a segment of white voters who, we've already seen this one. I'm sorry. I think we have seen this one. Have we? Yeah, that's what I wanted. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I don't went all over the place. I want us to look at these numbers, and then I want to address them. So the people who were voting for Trump. These is the breakdown of this. 34% white men, 39% voted Democrat, 59 were in the red in the GOP. But here's what I want to call to you, because see, there was a notion, and we talked about this on our show before, that Black men were going to be the downfall, and they just don't want to, look at the voting. So 5% of Black men, they're saying, is voted. But look at the numbers here. I'm sorry. Most of them supported Democrat. And what did they do? They created fear within our own community that our Black men were not going to support us. Now, look at the rest of the numbers. They all are not kind of surprising. But if you look at Black men, Black women, Latino men, and Latino women, which Latino women were higher than Latino men, you can see this doesn't make sense to me. So I want to get into this. Athena, when you look at these numbers, what are your thoughts? I know you live in Florida. I know I live in Florida, but you and I both live on two different sides of Florida, and that is a demographic in itself, right? So when you see those numbers, is that representative of what you see in your area?
Yes. So I live in South Florida, so Tri-County area, so Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and there's a lot of Black Caribbean people, Latinos, Hispanics, whites. So when I look at that, that looks pretty much like how it should go to. I actually went to my neighbor, she's Hispanic. They had a little party last night. I went over there. Homeboy asked me who I voted for. Whatever. All of them voted for Trump. Which I wasn't surprised by, but they made shirts and everything, girls. So I was like, oh, they really up here. But I ate my ceviche and I had my tequila, we talk and everything. So what I want to say is this: how Latino men specifically voted Republican, and white people majority voted Republican. Latino people think they're white. So I'm not surprised that more people, they have that delusion, but it is what it is. But what I realized hanging out with them last night too was that they're more united. They're more united as a group than us. Like, they were having a reunion for, I guess, their grandmother's 90th birthday. They flew in from Australia, London, Spain, all over, just to come and do that. And I'm like, damn, we don't even have that much. If it's too much stress to drive down the street to see people, we don't even be doing that. So I was just like, we are going to be a permanent underclass really, really soon, because their numbers are growing and we're not going to be the majority minority in this country anymore. What I also will say is, when I looked at those statistics, I had to question and ask myself, does the Black vote even matter? Because 80% of Black men voted for Kamala. 92% of Black women voted for Kamala. Did it make a difference? Did it shift the needle? No. The only way that needle could have been shifted is if white women, because white men were not going to go vote for Kamala, if white women would have voted more Democratic, and maybe Latino men. But white women was the key deciding factor of that vote. So it made me realize and understand that the Black vote really doesn't matter from a number perspective. And then looking at Black and Latino from a percentage wise, we make up 24% of the vote. So when I experienced this election, I said to myself the next day that this is a wake-up call for everybody. America is a white country. We have other stats. America is a Christian country. While you may be living in your community and you might, have all these other people around you, in the grand scope of everything, America is a white Christian country. And if you are not in line with that, you are the minority. And we do not, as a group, have enough numbers to make any significant shifts. So, which that white nationalist, that white MAGA kind of cultish fanatic person was saying. And this is why they're fighting so hard to preserve that, because they understand they need the numbers in order to make political shifts and to control.
Wow. So we're talking Florida. Trump won Florida by 113,000 votes. In Miami, 379,000 didn't vote. Wow. And we're looking at the specific Black, especially Black. There's a large population of Blacks, but Trump won Michigan by 11,000 votes. And then 277,000 Blacks didn't vote. Trump won Pennsylvania by 44,000 votes, and in Pennsylvania, 238,000 Blacks did not vote. What, Marlo? This is your wheelhouse, babe. I need to hear from you about what you think about these numbers, and why do you think that we have come to this term, if this is true, why we're not coming in to do our job as voting?
The short answer is the internet, right? The short and quick and easy answer is the internet. I talked about propaganda before the election and how propaganda affects our community specifically. And I think that we have to get back to being educated people. We got to stop shunning information. We have to get back to sharing information. The reason that the civil rights movement was successful and they got what they wanted, which was to get the act passed, the Voting Rights Act and other civil rights measures passed, is because they were spreading messaging. People were using dinners to talk about real shit. People were going to the hair salon and they were having meetings. People were jeopardizing their business. We don't talk about, that's why a lot of people were killed, because, and a lot of people lost their businesses during that time because they were firebombed and because banks wouldn't give them money and all kind of other tactics to stop them from sharing information. We have gotten away from that as Black people, and that's to our detriment, because we will never put forth a candidate that has an agenda for us, right? Not even really at the local level. So when I look at these numbers, I see people in cities, Michigan, to all those people that didn't vote. What about your local Detroit elections? I hope that just means you sat out of the presidential election, not that you didn't participate at all, right? Because when we look at Detroit and how they are giving the city of Detroit away, it seems to me that the Black people that didn't vote are not participating in that, right? So I think that we have to get back to information, real information. I'm stopped with these faceless, nameless YouTube videos. Y'all don't know who the hell is narrating. You don't know where the information came from. You too lazy to get your ass on the Google and ask Google 3 simple questions to verify if this information is real or what the source of the information or what the proper context is. It's time out for that. And as long as we are swayed by silly stuff, we won't win. And like Athena is saying about numbers, we Black women are not trying to really have babies, right? So if we aren't procreating because a lot of people financially just don't see where a baby is a prudent addition to their lives, our numbers are down too, right? So the people whose generations ago toiled and did the work for this sad sucker are never going to reap the benefits of what it is, because we rest on our laurels, because we get down with our fishing buddies in the IT department and we start to get that propaganda in the group chat, and instead of going and seeing what this is, we just take it in, right? Because you never learned it in school. It don't mean that Joe Bob that work with you is giving you the right information. Like, I just need my people to get their head in the game, and it's really not. And it saddens me, guys, because I can see the long game and y'all are playing right into the folks' hands, and everybody can't get a passport and go to Africa. Everybody can't go and hop ship and go to wherever they say they want to go and be an expat. That's not the reality for a lot of people, because a felony conviction bars a lot of people from getting a passport. I need y'all to start doing real research and not using that as a clapback on social media when somebody tells you you got your facts wrong.
And can I just add to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Lindsay.
Marlo was saying, that it's the numbers, right? And Athena had mentioned the numbers, because the first video clip that we were looking at, the guy was like, oh, I have to preserve the white race. But if we look at the numbers that we just saw, they have 71% of the votes. So if you control the politics, you control the people. So I mean, you're preserving it. Like Marlo said, the white people are playing the long game, and we have to get back to playing the long game for our own selves, for our own survival, because we are very short-sighted. And then if we look at the second numbers that you put up with the Florida numbers and the Michigan numbers with the Black people that didn't vote, we have been misled to believe that our vote doesn't matter. So it's not surprising to me that a lot of Black people didn't vote, because we've been spoon fed that your vote doesn't matter. It's not going to make a difference if you vote, when clearly, if all of these Black people would have voted, then it would have mattered in Florida, in Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And so, like Marlo said, I have to agree, we have to be willing to do the information. We'll find the information and give ourselves the education that we need so that we can make educated decisions and we can play the long game like white people have been playing this entire time.
And I do mean entire time. I don't mean just America time. I mean from the beginning of time. Okay, they have the wherewithal to take power very easily, and to make people feel like they don't have any power, and that's just where we have to flip our mindset. But here, I have a question about this. Is before we go to break, I'm sorry. Here's what is asinine to me. Is the fact that you want to sit up here and worry about how many people's having babies. Well, that affects people all across the board. What's to say that we ain't gonna end up having more babies too? And now you still in the same shit that you were in now. So who's to say other than minorities are going to embrace that and still have more children, and you still gonna be outnumbered? So that's asinine in the first place. But I digress. And when I digress, that means I have to take a deep breath, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Fly Nubian Money is now on Spotify. Yes, yes, yes. We are on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, you can listen to us. All you have to do is search Fly Nubian Money and we will appear. All of our episodes. Make sure that you leave a 5-star rating and review so other people that come along and are looking for a good show to watch, they'll follow us too. If you are interested in being on Fly Nubian Money, sorry, I don't have any spaces. I'm just playing. If you are interested in being a queen or a king on Fly Nubian Money for the day, please reach out to me. I'm at info@realvirtual.net. That's info@realvirtual.net. Also, if you need help with your business, go ahead and send me an email for that too. Okay. I've said enough. Now back to the show.
All right, you know what to do. You have assignment, you have homework. If you want to be on our show and you want to be a part of this conversation, because we love talking with you, just go ahead and send that email in, because we would absolutely love for you to come on and express your views as well. We appreciate everybody's views, or else we wouldn't have a conversation, right? All right, now that we've taken a deep breath on that, let's watch another video and let's see what other side we got to talk about. Watch this.
A lot of people voted because their life's too damn expensive. And it was here and it was.
They voted for, you're telling me, Stephanie, that all of these people who believe that their lives are, that bread is too high and eggs are too high, that they voted for a convicted felon, a guy who said we can grab the pea.
I think that a lot.
They voted for this guy.
I'm not defending it, but I think there are tons of people that don't pay attention to, and I'm not defending it, don't pay attention to politics at all. But while we live in the most prosperous country in the world, people are saying life's not fair. I'm not doing well. My son's still living in the basement. I can't seem to get a job. I don't like the status quo. I'm voting for something else. And he was the person.
I love you to life.
I love you.
But I do not believe that. I cannot believe that. And the reason I think you believe it is because you don't want to believe that that's what's really motivating them. It's always the case. People don't want to believe what the country actually is, because if they believe it, they're going to have to confront what's in them. I don't believe that. They voted for a crook, a person who they know is stealing from, just doing everything to undermine the so-called country that they love. And then they're telling us the BS that it's economics. We know that's not true.
I think it has a lot to do with mental processes. And so we're going to go to our expert on that one. Joe, how do you feel about that video? Do you believe that he's right? And how do we come to that in our hearts and mental capacities?
Yeah, he's correct. I mean, and that's just what it is. Like, that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning. I mean, this is where you are. I mean, you want to go to France and try to convince everybody to speak, a different language, this is where you are. This is the foundation of the country that you're living in was built off what he's talking about. And when that, you put a black woman up there and said, we're gonna let her run the country. That was a direct threat to the foundation of what is woven into the fabric of what they believe this country was built off of. It was built on oppression. It was built on racism. Okay. It was built on white supremacy. So what he's saying is people voted for that privilege. That's what happened. Those that voted, that's what they voted for. But the problem is what you showed in those previous graphics. It's not so. It's the systematic oppression of people and convincing them that their vote is irrelevant and they cannot do anything to fix their circumstances. And instead of talking to those people, we just try to convince other people to basically, I don't know, aspire towards whiteness, I think. I mean, I don't know what we were doing, all right? But we weren't talking to the right people based on those graphics you just showed, all right? That's all I got to say about that.
I totally agree with that. Now, we just had a comment come up, and I didn't get a chance to. I want to pull that last comment back up because I have to agree with it, and I would love to hear our thoughts on it. It was after it was the comment was about none of this. It was there, but when Obama was put into place, there it is. As long as it was just the good white men, the elections were civil. Things got ugly after Obama. Their nature came out. It was always okay to vote for one of the white men. Athena, I would love to hear your comments on this. My comment is that is dead on. Everything that has happened since then has all been Obama's fault because they couldn't stand that there was a good black businessman who had good in his heart and did not have one, except for the tan suit controversy. And they couldn't take it anymore. So this is why we've got a felon. So Athena, I digress before I let you answer. What is your thoughts on this?
Well, Wahites are gonna feel comfortable if they're the majority with electing what looks like them. And I want to also talk about the fact that while we always talk about policy and all these different issues, I also feel like with this election, people just voted for who they liked and who they wanted to be in there. I think a lot of us, especially as adults, we like to showboat and pretend that, we're just so conscientious, we're just so intelligent, we're just so educated, and we're making these informed choices. At the end of the day, we're very much social and psychological beings, as Joe may know. And we're going to vote who we like and who we want to be in there. Black women, 92% voted for Kamala because she was a black woman, right? People voted on race, right? Latino men voted because they feel like they're a white man, right? So it is what it is. What I will say, and someone did point this out though, was that both times Trump won, it was against a woman. With Hillary, it was a white woman. With Kamala, it was, a multi-ethnic woman. Let me say that since people gonna get upset. FBA ADOS always in the chat, call me and tell it. So let me, multi-ethnic woman, right? But when it was Biden, another white man, he lost, right? So he could only win when it's a choice where people would not want to see. Now, what I also want to point out too is, even though men have a lot of part in this election, women have a lot of part in it too, because sentiments that I picked up on was that a lot of women don't want to see another woman sitting in that seat. Maybe black women want to see another woman sit in that seat, right? Because we're used to seeing women in positions of authority in the home and elsewhere. But I feel like a lot of women do not want to see another, especially white women. And I had a conversation with my different white women friends. She did not vote, but if she did, it was going to be for Trump, right? So we had a nice conversation about it. I don't think women, especially white women, are comfortable seeing another woman in that seat, because if they wasn't going to vote for Hillary, then they definitely was not going to vote for Kamala.
Which actually brings up a very, very interesting thing, because you always hear the things in the women's circles. You always women watching women. Then we are supposed to be able to put each other's crowns on which one is it. But here's the thing. I have an issue. Oh, no, I'm just going to say it. I have an issue with anyone in my circle who voted for this man. I'm literally side-eyeing you because you know his history. You know what he stands for, and you pick and chose what you wanted to do. So now how am I supposed to turn around and call you friend when you voted against everything that has to do with equality and anything else that is good? You voted for the damn darkness. So how is this supposed to be for me to look at the people in my circle who I thought I could trust, because some of them came out after the woodworks after they voted. I had somebody had the nerve to post, I voted for Trump, but I love everybody. No, ma'am, you don't. So, Lindsay, I'd like to know, how does this affect your friendship circle? How does this affect you? You have a child. So how is it in your life? Do you put this in perspective so that you can pick up and brush your knees off and move forward?
This is a hard one. So my inner circle of the people that I'm closest with, we have the same beliefs. We have the same values. So I really didn't have to deal with it there. It's more people in the outskirts. And I am very big on protecting my energy. So I'm not going to let how they voted infiltrate my inner peace and what I'm doing to protect my family, because I know, like, I can plant seeds, but I can't control them. I can't, decide and make them vote one way or the other. I can only see them for what they are and then know where to place them in my life, and how they've treated me, how they've treated other people. I know one thing that last video clip had mentioned, where he said people don't want to believe what the country actually is because then they have to face who they actually are. And I'm very much give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but I take you for what you show me to be. Like, who you show me you are is how I accept you, and I put you where you need to be. And it makes me think of the whole critical race theory. The reason they want to erase that and get rid of it is because they don't want to face who they were, who they still are, because a lot of people's grandparents and even parents are going to pop up in those stories and pop up in those pictures where we see people, shouting at Black people and beating them and all of those things. So America does not want to face who they are. And Joe is saying, like, they're ashamed. The white race is ashamed of who they are, but yet they still keep perpetuating the same things. And at some point, you have to face the man in the mirror and say, okay, if I'm ashamed of this and I don't like it, I need to be willing to change. So that's how I feel about all of that.
I had to go into a mental cocoon. So y'all have to forgive me because I didn't go on no shows and didn't speak to nobody until Lala could get her head together. And so it's therefore coming out today. So Prime Tiger says he voted for Trump, and this isn't what all white Trump supporters believe. But with that being said, how can you justify this that is happening in a couple of states right now? These texts have been sent out to DC, Virginia residents right after the election. And I really don't like playing shenanigans, but it seems like they were ready and prepared. So it says, greetings. You have been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. Be ready at 12 a.m. November 13th, 2024. Sharp with your belongings. Our exclusive slaves will come to get you in a brown van. Be prepared to be searched upon arrival to the plantation. No personal belongings allowed. This is a fresh start. You are Plantation Group D. Now, as much as this makes me want to say every word I'm not supposed to say, because I know not everybody would do this, but the key people who helped get this man in have these types of tendencies. So how can you, as a Trump supporter, justify only what you want to pick and choose that makes you feel good? Or are you saying that, well, that wasn't me? Well, that's your group. Marlo, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, that's the whole thing about being in the cult, right? Is that you get to pick and parse the parts that you're really into and the parts that you're not with, right? it's funny to me because I just had a conversation with a colleague a white woman who's taken on the local civil rights stories of the past, right? And so that's her whole thing. She's so into it. She loves to run up to me and tell me all her feelings. And I'm like, get the F out my face, because like, what you telling me, like, you can't Black history me, sis. But that's neither here nor there, right? But while she is out here, living in the pain of Black people's pain of the past and learning all these things about these civil rights figures, her son is ironically racist, right? He thinks that certain racist things are funny. And it came up in a conversation between she and I, because she's like, oh, what is this? Why are you doing this? He thought it was funny. His friend group thought it was funny, right? So while we're having these conversations about, the white women and the who voted and the who didn't vote, and the internal politics that they have going on over there is crazy. And I wouldn't even want to be part of it, right? Because they keep having to trip over their own feet to justify having voted for this man who, during the height of the Me Too movement, we just knew he was going to jail with Weinstein, right? We knew there was a cell waiting for him. Instead, he flipped the script and he brought out Bill Clinton's accusers to shame Hillary one more time, right? This man digs deep in the dirt to throw it in your face, and they love it because it is in them. It is part of the script. Somebody got to die so that I can continue to exist. So if it's you, I enjoyed our coffee breaks, but you got to go. And that's just really how it is, right? And I said it earlier, I'm gonna keep saying it. Little Black meetings wouldn't be a bad thing for us to resume. It wouldn't be a bad thing for us to start figuring out what a strategy is. Do we need an exit strategy, right? How malicious are the children who are being sheltered from the history of the past, right? What kind of human umbrellas are they thinking up with their free time? That is kind of what we need to think about, especially knowing that Joey Riviera thinks he's white. And so he gonna get down with whiteness. And then in not even three generations, in the next generation, much like Marco Rubio, much like Ted Cruz, they're gonna be totally assimilated into whiteness, right? Because they already have the skin proximity. All it is the adoption of the values. Total domination, we down with it. So I think it is what it is. We either get organized or we get eaten, because everybody can't go to Africa. Everybody, I said it already, everybody ain't got a passport. Some people gonna get stuck here because they ain't got the money. Other people gonna get stuck because they got criminal convictions. So what are we gonna do, if anything? Or are we gonna be the new white supremacists? Will we be the white Black supremacists? I don't know. Gotta stay tuned to America and keep watching, I guess.
Yeah, and if y'all forgot about that movie called Drop Squad, I'm gonna need y'all to go pull that out and dust that off again and start looking, because we need to like grab our people back so that they can understand that, baby, that ain't you in that group. That ain't you. That ain't the VIP plan. Lindsay, were you getting ready to say something live? I'm sorry, I just overtalked you.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna add to that. If you think about it, we live in a pick and choose society. So think about Christians, a lot of them pick and choose. My sin is okay, but I'm gonna shun you for your sin, even though we're both sinning. Just like Athena said earlier, this is what'd you say? It was a white Christian America.
Yeah, this is a white Christian America, white Christian country.
Definitely white, and it's not really Christian, because if we think about the values of Jesus, he wants us to love everyone and treat each other with love and like our brothers and all of those things. So again, we live in a pick and choose society. I'm going to pick and choose what I like about Trump. I'm going to pick and choose what I don't like about Black people when it benefits me. I'm going to pick and choose what I like about Christianity and pick and choose what I like about people that are different from me. That's what this whole society is made of. Picking and choosers.
Yeah, which you pick your poison. It's either, there was so many issues in this whole thing: immigration, abortion, Christian nationalism. So let's look at this: the racial identity and Trump supporters. White voters who identify as evangelical Protestants or conservatives tended to support Trump more strongly, often citing concerns about cultural changes and immigration, which can be tied to racial identity preservation. And white voters who support Trump view their political engagement as a reaction to what they see as a growing political power of racial minorities. This fear of losing control or becoming a minority group in America is a theme that has been discussed widely among Trump's base. And I can tell you right now, there is a coworker that I used to have many, many years ago in Denver, Colorado, and she was my supervisor. And she is of Mayan descent. And she grew up here in America and was adopted by a family who were not white. They were non-white. However, she was totally fine and down with Obama, all about the cause. And then she married a white man who was a Republican. She now works for the Republican offices, and she has completely drank the Kool-Aid. And my thought is, you did that only because now you're married to a white man and you want to stay in his graces. And you didn't even look at your own history of what happened. So now she's all on this Kool-Aid thing and forgot about everything she said before, because now she just regurgitates everything that they are saying. So, what is the true truth behind this? We're going to be digging into this many, many years. But before we move on, I do want to remind you, we're having such a great conversation. Honey, this time is flying. And I want to remind you that we are connected to so many people. If you want to get your brand in front of millions of people, this platform is the one to do that. Fly Nubian Money. We are on so many different platforms, so many different channels. We go live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is your chance to connect with a potential client who's eagerly looking for your business. We all need to kind of start looking at how we do business and who we do business with. So you don't want to miss the opportunity to reach out to those who may be interested in what you do. And it's real easy to advertise with us. All you have to do is use our most famous email address, info@realvirtual.net. That's info at REELVIRTUAL.net, and put in the subject line Fly Nubian Money ad. So that way we know to send you our ad rates. You want to do that today, because now is the time to really stop talking the talk and walking the walk. A lot of these big companies that are out there right now supported Trump. So you need to really start paying attention to where your money is going. All right, we are almost done. And there's so much more to unpack, but we're going to have to actually wind it down now. And I'm probably going to have to go take a drink after this. And I've been fasting, y'all. I can't have no drink after this. I'm going to start with your final thoughts. Marlo, can I get your final thoughts and where we can find you?
So, education is always going to be important and not played out, especially in situations like these. If we don't know the history of the past, we can't see what is to come in the future, because all of this stuff recycles itself, right? Like Donald Trump wants to be the second coming of Andrew Jackson, who is the person who undid a lot of Abraham Lincoln's emancipatory or post-emancipation policies, right? So that's who he likens himself as. We need to pay attention to what matters, right? And this whole race thing is really made up. Before then, people were community, they were religion, they were proximity. And at some point, these European explorers decided that they needed to create a way to become dominant. Understand that all of this stuff is part of a long game, a long con, if you will, for dominance. If you don't want to be dominated, the best thing you could be is educated. If you don't want to be oppressed, the best thing that you can do is to be exercising freedom in the ways that you know how, aside from what you have as a constitutional right, right? So I think that you need to just focus on self. We got 4 years at least of whatever is to come, and pay attention. Don't be proud to not know what's going on. I feel ashamed for people. I get secondhand embarrassment for people who don't know what's going on in the world. You don't have to know all the minutia, but you do need to know something, right? You get to places like this when we lack education. So be informed, be knowledgeable, do your research, stop listening to random YouTubers and being indoctrinated and getting propaganda used against you, because it makes me sad. My name is Marlo Layson. If you're looking for me, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Ola Marlo. That is my name backward and forward with a little underscore beneath it. And reach out to me, holler at me every now and then. I post things and you can talk to me.
Please do, because I love following Marlo. She's got some great stuff, and you don't want to miss out on that. So make sure that you do that right now. Thank you, Marlo. Joe, what are your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
I just want to focus on those people that need help taking care of themselves in this moment, because I'm not going back and forth with y'all on this. You know what I mean? Like, you've decided that you don't want the information, fine. You decided you don't want to listen to facts, or you want to try to insult me, but what I'm looking at with my own eyes and hearing with my own ears, fine. Like I said, I'm not going back and forth with you. But those that have, decided that, this isn't for them, and they're scared and they're trying to figure out how to deal with, the traumatic feelings or the anxiety that's coming up, we can have a conversation about how to heal that and how to, work and process through that. And then, if you want to put yourself in a position down the line where you can contribute to the overall cause, we can definitely talk about how to do that as well. But come see me first, and you can find me at realuconsulting.com. I do real therapy. I'm not faking the funk in any kind of way. Just come talk to me, and let's work through whatever it is you need to work through to get you to where you need to be.
You heard him. He's not faking and he's not funking. You better make sure you reach on out to him and take care of your mental, because that is an important thing to do. Lindsay, what is your final thoughts, and where can we find you, please?
So my final thoughts are: vote in all of the elections, not just the presidential ones. Actually look at who's on your ballot, what are they about, what policies do they stand for? Because as I mentioned earlier, whoever controls the politics controls the people. And so if we want to make a difference, we got to start changing the politics. We got to start making changes within the system, because that's the only way we're going to be able to push ourselves ahead, because we can see they're playing the long game. And so we have to start thinking about the long game as well. And think about, if your vote really didn't matter, then why do they try so hard to suppress it? Think about that. Because a thief is not going to steal something that has no value, because what's the purpose? So clearly our vote has value, which is why they want to keep it out of the voting process as much as possible. And lastly, protect your peace by any means necessary. Prioritize your self-care. Do what you need to do to protect your peace. Think about, can I control it? Ask yourself that question. When you feel yourself getting stressed, anxious about anything, ask myself, can I control it? If the answer is yes, then figure out what action you need to take in order to change the results. If the answer is no, do whatever you can to release it, because you're causing yourself unnecessary stress. So my name is Lindsay Vertner, international mindset expert. You can find me at liveafirstclasslife.com. I am on all social media platforms, as long as you spell my name right. Follow me, y'all.
Great points, Lindsay. I totally agree. All right. Our pop queen, Athena Goddess. All right. What are your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Okay, so final thoughts are this: America is very white and very Christian. So that is the reality of the situation. We do not have the numbers to support or move the needle in a political influence. Also, I want to talk about the fact that not all Republicans are MAGA supporters. MAGA are extremist groups. There are other Republicans that are voting on different issues, and there are a lot of Black people who were frustrated and who did not just sat the election out completely. I also want to talk about the fact that a lot of people voted on the issue of the economy and immigration and feeling disenfranchised, and that did not help the Democratic Party. As for what we need to do moving forward, I will be doing a video about updating what we should do moving forward now that Trump presidency and how this can be helpful towards us. So if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, you will see that. Also, I have 2 upcoming workshops. Idea to Income, which is open to everybody, and the Wealthy Woman Shift, which is open to women. You can find that on my website on the events page at wewealthwoman.com. Follow me at We Wealth Women on all social media platforms, and you can listen to me on the We Wealth Woman podcast.
She's busy. She's a busy little goddess. So make sure that you go and find her. Make sure you go and find her. Listen, here's my final thoughts. Fool them once, shame on you. Fool them twice, it's on you, America. For me, get somebody else to do it when it all burns to the ground. That's what I have to say today. And you can find me and all of my social media platforms at bit.ly/Laura Key Info. Get all your info there. And I got some really good stuff coming up. So keep your eye on that page. Listen, at the end of the day, America is built on the contributions of many. And it's time we recognize the truth about that. And that is our history. What does it mean to truly preserve something, our race, our culture, or our power? Let's keep the conversation going. How do we make sure that everyone, no matter their race, has an equal shot at the American dream? We thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you. Please make sure that you like and follow, and if on Spotify and everything, make sure you give us all the goody jujus because we need you as our supporters. We love you as well. But we're going to end today by giving honor to our veterans. Once again, it is Veterans Day. We don't know them all, but we owe them all. Thank you, veterans. We love you very much. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.